velocity went down, and for whatever reason, Baltimore didn't believe that it was going to come back again. So they decided they needed the roster spot, and they decided to let him go. And the White Sox knew that he could pitch. If he was healthy, he could pitch. So they took a gamble. It wasn't really much of one, and brought him in. He's a terrific guy. He also knows how to pitch. And without overwhelming stuff, he really never had overwhelming stuff, he could still win in double figures. So when you look at a guy who is going to be slated for the bottom part of the rotation, whether it's 4 or 5, it doesn't matter, because on the day they give you the baseball, you are the #1 pitcher. He can win in double figures, and I think for him, certainly a whole lot of consideration for next year. Sox needed a right-hander in that rotation, and they seem to have discovered one, a guy who had a lot of success in the past.
32-year-old Miguel Gonzalez will face this starting lineup for the Tampa Bay Rays and second-year manager Kevin Cash. Logan Forsythe at the top of the card is 0 for 9 in the series. Evan Longoria was subbed out after 3 at-bats last night. Brad Miller moves back to shortstop. We see Kevin Kiermaier and Nick Franklin for the first time in this series, and Luke Maile is the starter behind the plate after Kurt Casale and Bobby Wilson the first 2 games.
Let's take a look at the defense and how they're going to line up behind Miguel Gonzalez. Jason Coates getting a start in left field, and Leury Garcia's been playing a lot of center with Avi Garcia in right. That's Frazier, Anderson, Sanchez, and Abreu in the infield, with Kevin Smith getting the nod behind the plate, and Miguel Gonzalez on the hill. Look at those numbers on for his 23rd start. 4-8 record. That's deceiving. He's thrown better than that. He's been especially good the last 5 times out at home. And with the rain starting to fall once again, probably the running game is not going to be in evidence tonight. So the umpires, Ben May behind the plate, Ed Hickox at first, Greg Gibson at second, and Mike Estabrook is at third. And as you can see, after the rain going away for a bit, it has come back and decided to rain a bit more, as we're in one of those weather patterns you only get in the fall, where it kind of goes away and comes back again, the same storms repeating.
I've watched enough Tom Skilling growing up that I think we call this a low pressure system.
There you go.
Hanging over Chicagoland. First pitch in the rain is a strike to Logan Forsythe. 7:31 first pitch time. And bright sunshine.
Somewhere.
Boy, you wait out the rain.
Well,
doesn't it figure?
It was waiting.
You know, you mentioned Miguel Gonzalez's velocity possibly having dipped, and that's why he comes over to the Sox. You look at the average fastball he's thrown this year, based on the StatCast stuff that we get. His average fastball is at 91.4 this year, which is tied for his highest average in his 5-year Major League career.
But here was the thing. The Sox gave him the opportunity to recover from his arm problems and then go to the minor leagues and work his way back. By the time he did get back, the arm was back to where it was. Baltimore just didn't give him the time. And I think the Sox are pretty happy about that. You know, especially when you look at a guy that never depended on a huge fastball. He was a guy who always knew how to pitch and could move the ball in and out, up and down. We've seen that especially this year. So when he does lose a couple miles an hour off the fastball, you got to figure if anybody can adjust to it, it would be him.
Line to third, Todd Frazier snares out #1, and Forsythe is down.
Logan Forsythe is a pretty good player. He's not having a good series, but he hits this ball right on the button. Todd Frazier right there. And this is a guy that a lot of people don't know a whole lot about, but if you follow baseball, you realize that Kevin Kiermaier is one of the best defensive center fielders in the game.
He's been out with a wrist injury. Kiermaier starting his first game of this series. And he takes strike #1.
There is a bit of a shift on him as Tim Anderson playing up the middle, and Todd Frazier well off the line at third.
Kiermaier last year, and we have all these new defensive numbers the last 10 years. Kevin Kiermaier was the leader in Major League Baseball with 42 defensive runs saved. It's a metric that totals up what you've done to protect scoring from going up against your team. As Abreu is there for round #2. 42, if you don't know the number and the average defensive run save, something like that, it sounds like a lot. But what makes you realize how much he did, his 42 defensive runs saved, Kiermaier, was 17 more than anybody else in baseball last year.
He's got, for defensive purposes, a wonderful center field to play. In Tampa, the center field is spacious, and the artificial surface allows you to maybe be a step quicker than it would be normally.
Here's Longoria, who takes ball number 1. The rain pelting the Rays and Sox, and cover sought. Frazier at the line, long throw on target. 1-2-3 inning, all in the infield for Miguel Gonzalez. Sox will swing against Blake Snell after this. Series, and they go right hand heavy. A couple of switch hitters, all righties. Anderson, Garcia, Abreu, Melky, then Todd Frazier on an 11-game hit streak. Garcia, Sanchez, Jason Coates, and Kevin Smith gets the start behind the plate.
The defense and how they'll line up behind Blake Snell. There you see it with Kiermaier back in center. It's a much better defensive alignment. Brad Miller to shortstop, Richie Schaefer to first, and here's the first pitch from Blake Snell, former #1 draft pick.
Young left-hander Snell, who sometimes has control issues, throws ball 1 to Anderson.
He can throw very hard, but occasionally loses track of the release point. This is 19th start. He's 6-8. The ERA good at 3.65.
Ripped to third. We've seen that before. Same start for the Sox as the Rays had, and 1 down.
Longoria right there to make the plays. Terrific third baseman. That didn't take a whole lot of skill. It just took good vision.
A little bit of fortune smiling upon you when the ball's hit that hard and directly at you.
Yeah, over his head, and it's a 2-base hit.
Here's Leori Garcia, who homered in the 13-run outburst yesterday. What do we see from Snell tonight?
We're going to see a pretty good fastball. We're also going to see a slider that, when he threw it against the Yankees, it was unbelievably good. Now, whether we're going to see that kind of slider or not remains to be seen.
Ball low, 1-1 on Garcia.
You get a big left-hander at 6'4". They list him at 180. Looks a bit heavier than that, but he's a guy with a good enough arm to be taken 52nd overall in 2011.
Won't turn 24 until December the 4th.
He had some pretty good numbers in the minor leagues. In fact, last year, combined 15 and 4 overall. Charlotte, Montgomery, Durham, and he was pretty close to unhittable.
In case you're wondering, there are two Charlotte minor league teams. The Sox have their AAA in Charlotte, North Carolina. The Charlotte that's in the Rays system is Port Charlotte in Florida, the Charlotte Stone Crabs.
How could you mix up the Stone Crabs?
With Knights? Not very easily. 2-2 on Garcia. And Snell gets him swinging, strike three.
Well, there is that slider we were talking about, and when it's good, it not only gets a whole lot of movement, it gets a lot of depth, meaning it's going to come in and down to a right-hand hitter. And there it is. Good tight spin on that one. If he gets the release point on that, and that's why I always like to see a couple of left-handers against a left-hand pitcher, because with all right-hand hitters, when a pitcher gets his release point, he usually doesn't vary from it because he's only seeing guys from the same side.
Aren't you then sacrificing a guy or two?
No, because usually when you do play left-handers against lefties, they can hit them fairly well. So it's not really a sacrifice as much as you're putting a little more pressure on the pitcher.
It is really coming down now, the rain. Ball and a strike, and the question is, how long can we play with this rain coming down?
And who will stop the rain?
Gulp.
Do you want to burst into song?
At every moment. Ball and a strike on Abreu. That's high. 2-1.
That's what you're going to see from Snell. You're going to see a lot of high fastballs as he does not finish off his pitches. Roger Bossard. Roger, he's one of the guys who knows when this rain is going to stop. And hopefully it's soon.
The thought bubble over Roger's head is intriguing right now.
Wow, it's raining again. Try to get this game in, because if it doesn't get in, there's going to be a double header tomorrow, and it's going to be a straight doubleheader. It would start at 4 o'clock and play all the way through, not any of these split doubleheaders that we've seen from time to time.
Although the forecast for tomorrow isn't exactly roses and sunshine, as Snell snatches that up and flips to Schaefer for out number 3. 6 batters so far, no base runners. Lots of rain though, no score after 1. Returns January 27th through January 29th, bringing ballpark fun to the Hilton Chicago. You'll score an autograph or photo with current players, coaches, and White Sox greats. You play games, win prizes, and shop for team gear. A great weekend of White Sox baseball. Hotel packages are available now. Visit whitesox.com/SoxFest. SoxFest coming just around the corner. It's only a couple months away, Steve Stone. I'll see you there.
Book your ticket as soon as you can.
You could do it right now.
It's going to be a beautiful weekend. Been a beautiful year for Brad Miller. His career high in home runs was 11. Coming into this year, he's sitting with a whole lot more than that. 30 to be exact.
His best slugging percentage was his rookie year at .418 4 years ago. That's risen to .493. OPS nearing 800. That's on base plus slugging. And a blanket is a good idea in the crowd tonight. Sheets of rain have become fewer droplets of rain, but it's still coming down pretty good.
Yeah, I would think the heavy stuff has moved out by now.
You're a Bill Murray aficionado?
Exactly right. Prepared fans, that
Hello.
helps a lot.
Up and out, 3-2 on Miller. It's the worst weather you ever played in, any level.
Usually it was very early in the baseball season in Cleveland, Ohio, where I remember we had 24 games scheduled in high school. 18 of those games were played below 40 degrees. So a combination of rain, snow, and terribly cold weather made it really difficult. And that happened a lot. I mean, that wasn't an oddity. That was what early spring baseball was.
High in the air from Miller. Short center field, Garcia sidestepping to make the grab for out number one. It was 3 years ago. It was in AAA with the Syracuse team. We were on a trip to Durham and Norfolk, and after the game in Durham, we would drive to Norfolk. It's about a 3.5 hour drive, and I fell asleep for a little while in the drive, woke up, and you remember that derecho came through the DC area, that kind of windstorm, thunderstorm thing, that wall cloud, they called it the derecho. We drove through the derecho.
How was that?
It was bus rattlingly fun.
I think you haven't lived until you've been knee deep in the haboob that is in Arizona as it comes through during the monsoon season in the summertime.
For the uninitiated,
the haboob is this cloud of dust that comes through that literally it looks like the end of the world. And it gets through all of your windows and any of the cracks you have in your house, turns your pool completely black. And it's just, it's a delight.
Boy, that sounds like great fun.
Well, it's unique. I mean, you can't experience that too many other places. Yes, and
The
an interesting
haboob?
name. I don't know who termed it the haboob, but that is actually what it is.
You're certain that's actually the name of it?
Oh yes, very certain.
Sounds a little less menacing than the polar vortex. 1-2. Popped him up. Jason Coates is in left tonight, and fading, he makes the grab. Those two reactions by Garcia and Coates suggest the wind's playing some tricks.
Well, also it suggests that when you're looking straight up into the rain, you want your pitcher to throw some ground balls on occasion, because you're looking straight up, you have a face full of water, and then the wind is going to take it a bit. So you turn to the side, make the catch in the very wet glove that you happen to have, in this case on your left hand.
Major League rookie Jason Coates dealing with the elements. Here's Nick Franklin. Doesn't rain like this in Plano, Texas. Here's Leori's response.
He's looking up, trying to get the water out of his eyes as he turns away, and it was nice. He was able to figure out where the ball was going to be and then look away and just set the glove there. Everything worked out well.
One strike pitch, Gonzalez to Franklin. And a ball and a strike.
Franklin and Miller both came through the Seattle Mariners system, both with high hopes, and kind of amazingly, both found their way here to Tampa.
.280 for Franklin this year, slugging .463. Two and one. Gonzalez takes it himself and slides the foot in. It's a 1-2-3 inning for Miguel Gonzalez. Bottom two next, no score.
With White Sox checking, an official White Sox debit card only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/White Sox to learn more. Wintrust Community Bank, member FDIC.
23-year-old Blake Snell on the mound for the Rays in a scoreless tie, bottom of the second inning. We have a birthday wish to pass along. Happy 104th birthday this past Sunday to a huge Sox fan, Augie Barberi from Chicago Heights, now in Hazel Crest. And happy birthday, Augie. 104. Wonderful.
You want to get those in early in the game.
Before you start rambling?
No.
It was Melky.
At 104.
Strike one. Truly unreal. Blake Snell, 23 years old, 81 years younger than our big White Sox fans, celebrating the birthday last weekend. Augie Barberi. Big party as well, I heard, beginning of this week. 0-2 is swung through, strike three on a ball in the dirt to Melky Cabrera. Breaking ball and strikeout number two for Snell.
You can understand why they think so much of this young man. Just taking a look at a couple of sliders he's thrown. We'll take a look at that one, and the faster the spin, the tighter the spin, the quicker the break. And so far for Snell, they're not picking up the rotation on that slider.
Young man Blake Snell, who for a year was pulled out of high school by his mother and homeschooled. She had been threatening, if you don't take school seriously, I'm going to take you out of school and homeschool you. She did. He got the message. He went back to high school in the state of Washington the following year, and then was drafted 52nd overall by the Rays just a couple of years ago. Frazier fouls it off of Maley.
Yeah, that one got him solidly, and Ben May is going to take a slow walk to the mound, not because Snell needs it, because Maley's got a chance to regroup. Well, that one got him square on the mask.
That's one of those, sometimes you'll see the catcher end up with a cut because of the way the mask flies up in the face.
What I've never been able to realize, never been able to understand, is that catchers get hit so often with those, why they don't have some sort of protection for their neck to eliminate the whiplash that is caused by getting hit directly in the mask with something that's probably going 100 miles an hour.
You're saying maybe even further down?
No, I'm talking
some
about
brace in the back.
Yeah,
you're saying.
you saw years ago. You saw linebackers using them on occasion.
Yeah, with the big
right.
thing sticking out of the back.
And it would stop the neck from going back quite as quickly as it does when they get hit.
Jam shot right side. Mikey Matuk is there for out number 2. And our picks to click tonight. If you're looking for a base hit, you're looking in the wrong place. Nobody on either team is on base so far, and the Crew's got the lead. Leori Garcia goes to our Crew. Kevin Smith over here. Steve goes with Melky Cabrera and the most shocking turn of events in 2016. And the fans have Avi tonight. You can vote online, whitesox.com/pick-to-click. If you vote really hard for Melky Cabrera tomorrow, Steve won't be able to pick him. Vote Melky. Vote often.
Well, unfortunately, Milkman's having a wonderful year, but for some reason, the 2 times a week I don't pick him, he seems to do very well. 5 times I do, not quite as well, or I'd be winning.
Gotta say, I don't think the math really adds up. Usually 7 days a week you pick Melky. We'll check on that.
Not on the off days.
Ball and a strike on Avi from the singularly numbered pitcher, Blake Snell, number 4.
You don't see that too often. Ooh, that one off the foot or the knee. Whatever it is, doesn't feel too good. Now he's going to have to walk that one off for a while.
He's got the protection on the left leg.
We'll take another look. That was off the foot. That brings up another one of my inventions.
That I going south fast.
No, I'm serious.
Okay.
A polyurethane coating, because both catchers and hitters, as you can see, they have the shin protected, but they don't have the shoe protected. You could have one that velcroed over the top of the shoe and protect your foot, and a lot of problems ensuing from foul ball off the foot.
You know, as somebody who's umpired previously, that's the place where you catch the ball that you're not protected as an umpire as well, that inside of the foot.
Now for the umpires, they have a little bit more protection on still, that, but not as much.
Yeah,
right.
On the left side of the screen there, it's pretty wide open. Just low, 2-2 on Avi. I mean, he's got Ben Mayhez on top of the shoe, the covering, but that inside on the side of the shoe is well exposed.
That's something for you to do in the off season.
Inventions?
No, just the invention is there. The idea is the tough part. The following through, which is something you do well. You could solidify your future.
You're saying it's tenuous?
Yeah, it could go either way.
A ringing endorsement. 3-2 from Snell. Inside, ball 4. Avi works a walk, and he's the first base runner tonight.
That one was not inside by much, but it was inside. So the inning stays alive. And there's Chris Sale, who says it's pretty much up to the Sox if they want him to go on Sunday or not. He said he's ready to go if need be, if they want him to do it. He would be going after a career high. If he does go, going after career high, he'd be looking for his 18th win. I think all in all, it's been a remarkable year for him. When you consider what the ball club has done, 76-81, and yet he's 17-9.
I know there's been a lot of discussion, especially around July 31st, August 1st, about Chris Sale as an asset and what he brings in terms of value as it pertains to other players. But there is a different feeling in the ballpark, and there's a different feeling around the team the days Chris Sale pitches as well. Outside, Avi's running, and Avi is out at second base, caught stealing for the 4th time this year. Snell has still faced the minimum. He'll get Sanchez in the 3rd. No score after 2. Miguel Gonzalez to Mikey Matuk, 3rd inning, 1st pitch, down low, ball 1. Mikey Matuk's had a nice series, 4 for 8. A run, a double, a strikeout. Young player who's seen a lot of time in center field through his career in the minors, now in right for the Rays with Kiermaier back.
He's also a former #1 draft pick. 31st selection in 2011. Had some good minor league numbers, not great. And if you're going to play the corner outfield, he didn't show a whole lot of power in the minor leagues, but he did last year when he came up. 9 home runs in 105 at bats, which is somewhat remarkable. When he came up to Tampa and just played 41 games, a lot of them as a defensive replacement.
Left center field. Garcia had him played perfectly. That's a gapper if they're straight up. Instead, it's out number 7 in a row.
That ball hit awfully hard, and not many guys on this Tampa Bay team have hit Miguel Gonzalez very hard. So the lowest ERAs against opponents since 2015, Taijuan Walker against the Indians, Johnny Cueto against the Rockies, Clayton Kershaw against the Mets. That could bode well for him. Miguel Gonzalez against Tampa Bay, .93. Doug Fister against Oakland.
There was a great piece last couple days on Fangraphs, the website, that has to do with Clayton Kershaw and the effect on Rich Hill for Kershaw and the effect of Hill on Kershaw. Evidently, Clayton Kershaw has credited Rich Hill a little bit with added deception to what Kershaw does. Sort of tinkering with his release point. He'll drop down a little bit on a changeup, and there's a fair ball down the line. Richie Schaefer into the corner as Coates plays it off the sidewall. And it's a 1-out double. First base runner tonight for Tampa Bay is Schaefer's 10th hit of the year.
Let's take a look at Schaefer and his swing. He opens up with that front foot. And because he opens up so quickly, I don't think throwing him inside is a great thing. Takes it down the line. We saw a little of that last night's game. They tried to cure him of opening up with his front foot too quickly because the hip's clear. You don't get a lot of coverage middle of the plate out. But the Sox have thrown him a few times on the inside part of the plate. And with 3 hits last night, including a couple of doubles, whatever they're doing to this point has not been right.
Scoring position for Schaefer, Maley the batter. Gonzalez trying to get out of a little bit of a jam in the 3rd. The rain having stopped. So essentially,
Rich Hill and Kershaw?
Yeah, and his deceptive nature have rubbed off on Kershaw. And I'm wondering if, as you were going through your career, you kind of gained things from other guys by watching and just talking on the bench about pitches.
Well, I think you try to do everything you can, and usually you try to accomplish it throwing in the bullpen between starts if you're a starting pitcher. I mean, with the skill that Kershaw's had during the course of his career, you find it strange that he would want to change anything, but you have to keep evolving because teams try to catch up with you. And with Rich Hill, who had some interesting transitions in his career from a highly thought of starting pitcher when the Cubs drafted him, then to have to go to the bullpen.
Anderson at shortstop, deep in the hole. Tim is there. What a rangy play from young Tim Anderson.
They're going to want to take a look at it at first base. What an outstanding effort by Anderson, and it doesn't hurt that Maley's a catcher. But the question is, did he get it there in time? And a good pick on the other end by Jose Abreu. So he gets the throw off. Ew.
I think he got him by a quarter
Looked
of a
like
step.
he got him by an eyelash.
Yep.
In the glove. And Maley does not get a base hit. Highway robbery by Tim Anderson. Nice pick by Abreu. And they get the out, and on the out, Schaefer moves to 3rd.
Nice freeze by our guys in the tape room there to see definitively the call was proper. As Logan Forsythe elevates this ball to right field, and the inning comes to an end. Tim Anderson with brilliance at shortstop. Schaefer stranded at 3rd.
Subway 3rd inning triple play promotion. Text Subway 3 to 97999 right now, and the 300th texter will win a $30 gift card to Subway restaurants in the Chicagoland area. Subway, fresh is what we do. There is Alexi Ramirez, who we've seen in this series. He had a base hit in the second inning, driving home 2 runs against Chris Sale last night. Got knocked over by a line drive.
And he knows how to do the Macarena, but doesn't enjoy it very much, evidently.
You know, it's sad to see a guy let himself go. He was so thin. Now look at him.
Oh yeah, he's really ballooned, hadn't he?
Ballooned up to about 175 pounds.
Carlos Sanchez takes ball number 1. Carlos has had a very nice last week and a half. 3 homers have all come in the last 11 days. So Carlos Sanchez, career 8 home runs have come against 5 separate teams. He's gotten the Rays twice. He's gotten the Indians twice. He's gotten the Royals twice this season. And singles against the A's and Tigers in the home run department, 2-1.
Although you never know how it's going to work out. If you take a look at the at-bats, he's had 136 of them with 19 runs driven in. That actually, for a second baseman, that pencils out to in the neighborhood of 80 runs driven in for the year. That'd be a big number. So he's shown the Sox that he can hit a little bit from both sides of the plate.
Very well liked in the clubhouse.
Yeah, there will be a battle next year because he's one of the guys that will be right there in the possibility of a swing man. A young man who can play shortstop also, which is always valuable.
You're talking about the RBI number. 132 at-bats this year for Baltimore catcher Caleb Joseph, and he still does not have an RBI.
Well, he's been hitting in tough luck.
Uh-huh.
He never gets a hit with a runner on base. That's how tough luck it's been.
3-2. Right side hooking foul.
Do you realize how difficult that is? To go bat 132 times and never drive in 1 run.
It's the odds are against you. Runners in scoring position this year, he's 2 for 27. Scoring position 2 out, 0 for 13. It's amazing he's got 2 hits with runners in scoring position. Still doesn't have an RBI.
Nothing.
Weeders at second. Tipped into the glove, strike 3. Third punch out for Blake Snell, who still has yet to allow a hit. Fan appreciation flash sale. Purchase a Sox pack to benefit White Sox charities. Each Sox pack includes a White Sox OGO backpack filled with autographed memorabilia, game tickets, and a custom U.S. Cellular Field replica. Premium Sox packs even include an autographed jersey. Discounted pricing this weekend only. To purchase, visit whitesox.com/SoxPacks. Ball 1 to Jason Coates, his 48th major league at bat. In the air, right field. Mikey Matuk won't get there. Coates sends it all the way to the wall and has his 4th major league double.
So in a game that looks oddly similar from both sides, Coates the 8th hitter. Doubles and breaks up the no-hitter. Schaefer the 8th hitter for Tampa doubled and broke up the no-hitter. Mikey Matuk took a very bad route to that ball, and it's doubtful he'd have gotten to it anyway, but cutting straight across ensured that he wasn't going to even get close to it.
Brings up Kevin Smith. I think we're seeing the last couple of at-bats how much video there is in minor league baseball now, and spray charts and things like that, because there was a massive shift on for Coates, and they're shifting significantly on the infield and in the outfield for Smith.
If there's one team that uses sabermetrics exclusively, it is these Tampa Bay Rays. Well, they had Andrew Freeman. He was a guy who used sabermetrics a lot, but he also had a number of baseball people, including Jerry Hunsinger, in the front office to do some evaluation for him. Now that Andrew Freeman has gone to the Dodgers, they have gone to a whole lot of analytics that pretty much dictate what they do in Tampa.
Here comes the rain again. It's 1-2 on Smith. What do you do shift-wise when it's pouring?
You play the guys deeper because, number one, they can't run, and number two, you're going to easier to come in than out on a fly ball.
Monsoon season in Chicago is dawning as Smith goes down swinging.
And that's going to be it. They're going to put the tarp on the field as this one kind of snuck up on the folks because it started so quickly and raining so hard that they have decided to take a temporary halt to this game.
Question is, which pitcher will remain when we renew baseball in Chicago? Blake Snell is a little bit more of a delicate situation at age 23 than Miguel Gonzalez at age 32, as this Chicago White Sox rain delay is brought to you by U.S. Waterproofing. A better basement starts with us. Certainly hope your sump pump in your basement is working successfully, considering the downpour that's hitting the field here. And you mentioned it early, this is an odd weather pattern because two things. Number one, it's spinning essentially to the south and west from north and east. So the low pressure system is spinning just about over us. And number two, there's what weather people call a training effect, right? Where the same areas are getting hit over and over because of the way the system is spinning.
And to put it in language that us normal people can understand.
Thank you for that.
When it hits you once, it goes away for a bit and comes back, and the same storm gets you again. So fortunately, you would think that once it has rained itself out for a bit, it would go away and let us play for at least a bit more.
Thank you for that translation, by the way. I
you.
really appreciate it.
I didn't know about the
training effect?
The training effect and the vortexes and the polar caps and all of those other things.
Polar caps? Those are those hats we wore back in April. People have called you a haboob in the past for similar reasons. We're scoreless here, and a pitcher's duel has been interrupted. I mean, these two, Gonzalez and Snell, have thrown the ball very well early in this game.
Yeah, I would think that.
This is no fun, by the way.
Yeah.
To pull a tarp with the wind.
It's going to get worse as the tarp gets a lot wetter, which you would think is going to happen. So the guys on the ground crew have a pretty tough job, and you would think that if this delay is, let's say, no more than a half hour, both pitchers would actually come back and be able to throw. But anything more than that, and again, you're right, the younger pitcher would have a bigger advantage than the man who's been around for a while, and both pitchers don't want to see this one interrupted.
I was going to flip that. I was going to say the Rays would be less likely to send Snell back out because of his youth and the delicate nature of his arm as compared to the veteran. You think or no?
No, I think it just really, it depends on when Jim Hickey will ask him how you feeling, and it's going to depend on time. You get to the point where there's an hour delay, hour and 20-minute delay, you're going to go to a different pitcher on probably both sides of the equation.
All right, we'll see how it plays out. No score, third inning, 2 down. Sox are batting with Jason Coates at second base, Tim Anderson to come up. And we'll step aside for an edition of Chicago's Best. We will interrupt that to tell you what's going on from here at U.S. Cellular Field. Enjoy. Ballpark earlier today, and it was much drier when we saw Dan a couple of hours ago, but the tarp is off after a laborious piece of work by the tarp crew and Roger Bossard. Field's ready to play. No score, bottom of the third. The Sox have Jason Coates at second base and 2 down in this third inning. Tim Anderson will come up after a rain delay about an hour 15 old. And Blake Snell, the left-hander, is done for the day for Tampa Bay. 2 2/3, 1 hit, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. We're looking forward to seeing him pitch a little bit more, considering the level of talent that he has. But he will be done. Ryan Garten will take to the mound for Tampa Bay, and that's good news for the Sox with Snell looking pretty good tonight.
And also good news for AT&T, because it's the AT&T Call to the Pen, brought to you by AT&T, mobilizing your world. And there's a look at Ryan Garten. He's on for the 36th time, 1-2 ERA, a little above 4.5. He's had 1 opportunity to save, and he was successful. But the batting average against at 280, normally that's a little bit higher than you would like. So he feels like he's ready to go. And we'll have to see if Tim Anderson can come through and drive home the first run of this ball game.
It would be Jason Coates if the first run would come across. Sox were 5 up, 5 down, first 5 batters. Meantime, Tampa was 7 up, 7 down, the first 7 against Miguel Gonzalez. So, Tim Anderson in a key spot. Runner at second, 2 out in this third inning, and after a rain delay of an hour and 16 minutes now, Ryan Garten to Tim Anderson as we are back underway from the south side with a foul ball to right from Anderson, who lined out to third in the first inning. Remember, we had a rain delay as well for about half an hour before the game started tonight. So rain delay theater in full force this evening. Way upstairs.
There's a curveball that didn't do much except slip out of his hand, and he was a 34th round draft pick in June 2012 out of Florida Atlantic.
Down in Boca Raton. 1-1 on Anderson. Now 1-2 Tim. So Snell's done. And Miguel Gonzalez has finished 3 innings. We'll see about Miguel.
Snell is done, but his ERA lives on if Jason Coates scores.
A lengthy inheritance. 1-2. Maley, nice try. Move the ball over the plate. It's 2-2.
Yeah, drag it from about 3 inches outside and about 4 inches on top of the strike zone as Snell looks on, a very interested spectator.
2-2 from Garten. A look at Coates, and the pitch is low. 3-2 on Anderson. What a way to have your last start go of the season for Snell. 2 2/3 and a lot of rain. Leori Garcia would be next.
Probably maybe a half hour less on the delay, and he might have been able to go out there again, but a little too lengthy.
Center field, Kevin Kiermaier in his tracks for out number 3. The longest third inning of the night in Major League Baseball, we have to assume. No score to the 4th we go. For waiting out the rain delay with us tonight. And Miguel Gonzalez back out to the mound after the delay. What's that like for a pitcher?
Every pitcher is different. Sometimes you can stay loose. Sometimes it's very difficult. But if your arm is healthy, he should be okay. I don't see any problem with it. So he just have to make sure that he is good and loose to be able to have the same stuff that he had when he left, because he was throwing it pretty well, and he's got to start with 2, 3, and 4 in the batting order.
Kiermaier, Longoria, and Miller on pitch number 39 of the night for Miguel Gonzalez, who allowed just 1 hit first time through the order. That was a double to the 8-batter Schaefer last inning. Frazier's playing in at third with a possibility of Kiermaier's bunt, which he just showed, 2-0.
Not a bad idea, because you're going to be picking up a wet baseball and trying to throw it.
First base, that was convenient. Foul ball.
That call belongs to Ben May. Anything in front of the bag is the domain of the home plate umpire. Now you can see the ball in foul territory, although Jose very briefly was in fair territory. The wind now very much a factor. We thought it was difficult before. It's going to be a lot more difficult now. And you know, seemingly as soon as you play the game, it's a signal to start raining again.
Here it comes.
And there you see what it looks like as the front passes through, leaves, only to come back again.
Into right field and foul. This is the longest front of the year. If it were only a front.
Well, this is the back of the front.
The front of the back?
Could be too.
Well, look, that training effect is really what's causing the problem.
Happening?
Yeah, there's a spinning low pressure system.
And he breaks the bat. He breaks the bat a couple times.
That's perfectionism right there. If it's a little bit broken,
get it done.
Get rid of it. 3-2, Gonzalez to Kiermaier. Longoria awaiting. Just as quickly as the umbrellas started to pop up again, they have been put away. The rain is here and gone. Three balls, 2 strikes. Clipped foul by Kiermaier. We'll see a 9th pitch. Center fielder for the Rays dealing with a wrist injury. 26-year-old left-hander. It's a pocket of a lot of lefties in the order, with the 2, 4, 5, and 6 position all hitting left-handed tonight for the Rays. Center field, Garcia for out number 1. Here's your Sox Math question for tonight. Thanks for waiting for it. Hashtag Sox Math on Twitter. Take the Sox run total in the first 2 games. Divide the Sox win total in the first 2 games. Add the number of major league teams other than the Sox and Rays for whom Wilson Alvarez pitched. Subtract the number of years ago Wilson Alvarez pitched his last game in the major leagues. That's your Sox Math question for tonight.
This has an Alvarez theme to it.
Wilson was the opening day starter for the Tampa Bay Rays back in 1998. They were the Devil Rays at that point.
Wilson had some wonderful moments. Pretty good pitcher.
He and Alex Fernandez, Jack McDowell, that front of the rotation for the Sox in the 90s was
pretty good.
It's great to see Blackjack up here in the booth a couple of months ago for homecoming weekend. He was here with many others. Lance Johnson, Roberto Hernandez here as well.
Lance had some just great years. He swung a very heavy bat, surprisingly heavy for a man his size, but able to make contact, and then had awfully good speed.
1-2 on Longoria. He's 0 for 1. And he shoved off the plate. 2-2. So World Series champions. We heard about them back in 2005. Earlier today during the rain delay. Nice retrospective. There's strike 3. Gonzalez punches out Longoria. 2 down. That picture, by the way, in front of the World Series champion banner looked like winter more than fall.
Good fastball on the inside part of the plate. Longoria swings right through it. It's not a strike, but it is very effective.
I mean, that is a snow globe. That's not September.
Well, temperatures, it says 56. Feels a little bit cooler than that.
I know it's rain, but how granular it is, that's not a good sign for our future warmth.
No, we should be in good shape. The heavy stuff is out of here by now.
You're flying to Arizona in about a week. Okay, speak for yourself.
You'll like it here. I know you've never spent a winter here, but you'll really like it.
I've never spent a winter here? What's wrong with you? 18 winters. Ball and a strike on Miller. 19. I came back after college too. Spent a winter here.
I don't mind the winters here.
When you live in Arizona.
A lot of people have some trouble.
2 balls and a strike on Miller. In fact, Sox Fest last year was a beautiful weekend.
Well, it really was. In fact, the last few years we've had pretty good luck. Although it says 56.
It's Burley out.
He wore that number well for many years.
2-1 for Brad Miller from Gonzalez. Now 2-2. Largest pitch inning for Gonzalez at 18 in the 4th. 2-2 outside.
Had to throw that split change, but couldn't get a piece of the plate as Dickerson waiting patiently for his turn if Miller can keep it alive.
Three balls and 2 strikes on Brad Miller, who flied out on a payoff pitch in the 2nd inning. Miguel Gonzalez has only allowed 1 hit so far tonight before and after the rain delay. That was a double to Schaefer in the 3rd. Three and 2 is right there. Strike 3. Miller confounded by Gonzalez, who struck out 2 in a row.
Blog at WGNTV.com, sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your local nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 38 years. To join the nation, visit JeffVuk.com because Nationwide is on your side.
No runs on either side so far. No score. Bottom four. Garcia, Abreu, and Cabrera to face Garton for the first pitch strike to Leury Garcia. Drama today in Toronto in the American League wild card race. During our rain delay, the Blue Jays, as Garcia bunts it foul, the Blue Jays were leading 2-1 against the Orioles, trying to really put away that #1 wild card spot. And Hyun-Soo Kim hit a pinch hit 2-run homer off Roberto Osuna to give the Orioles a much needed win.
We were able to watch that during the rain delay, and it was a 3-2 pitch. He just barely got it out of the ballpark over the head of Bautista, but out of the park it went, and then they turned it over to a man who is seemingly unhittable.
Zach Britton has been so fun to watch this year. Second base Forsythe has to hurry and gets it there for the first out of the home fourth. Here's your Sox math answer. And we have a return winner. Sox run total was 20 divided by 2 wins. That's 10. 3 other teams for Wilson Alvarez. 13 minus 11 years ago. Wilson Alvarez pitched his last game in the majors. That was 2005. The answer's to the winner, SSSP Knowles, who has been under a rock for the last month. Congratulations, Patrick.
I thought that he was held hostage, actually, because we haven't heard from him in quite some time.
It's a strike to Abreu. You were talking about Britton?
Yes, and when you watch him pitch, and we had a chance, obviously you see him from the center field camera, and you realize that his sinker probably sinks 6 inches, goes straight down. No chance. It looks like it's probably going to be thigh high and then just disappears. So once again, he came in with an ERA of .56. Just a remarkable weapon at the back end of their bullpen. And if they do get there, it's largely going to be because of him.
Abreu goes down swinging, and 2 down. Join us October 2nd for the final Family Sunday of the season, presented by Coca-Cola. Tickets as low as $5 in the upper level, $15 in the lower level. Special kid-focused activities throughout the ballpark, and parking available for only $10. Visit whitesox.com/Sundays to purchase your tickets today. 2 down, Melky Cabrera against Garton. Comes in after the rain for Snell and strike one. I was talking to Buck Showalter about a month ago about Zach Britton, and he was just mentioning how important it can be to a team to have a left-handed closer, let alone one as good as Britton. Look out, Joe. 2 strikes. It neutralizes left-handed pinch hitters, of which teams may have 1 or 2 dangerous guys late in a game.
Normally, when you're building a bench, you think about your real good pinch hitters. You think about them being left-handed because, to a great extent, maybe 85% of your closers are right-handed. So it would behoove you to have a good left-handed pinch hitter or 2. And Britton, yeah, he neutralizes that certainly, but he neutralizes everybody. When you watch him, when you watch guys approach trying to hit him, he throws 79% ground balls. 79% of the balls put in play against him are ground balls. That's absolutely remarkable.
You were talking about it maybe being the best sinker of all time. It's got to be up there as the best pitch of all time, possibly, right?
Well, if it's not the best sinker, because it's 96, and very rarely do you see something 96 sink that much. If it's not the best, it's in the top 2 or 3.
Who else is there for you?
For sinkers? Geez, that would be. I mean, Scherzer has a pretty good sinker. He's a starting pitcher.
Right now, yeah.
All time? Boy, it's just hard to recall off the top of my head. But
we got time tonight. I mean, this is going to be Sox After Dark by the time we.
I don't know if I've ever seen a sinker consistently thrown as hard as his. Usually a sinker baller is a 92, 91, 92, maybe a 93 guy, but not a 96 or 97 guy.
Consistently
Yeah.
96, 97.
And he was an okay starter, just an okay starter. He's become a miraculous closer. Melky able to fight that one off.
Well, I mean, you talk about best pitches of all time, right? I mean, that's such a broad-based thing to ask about.
Look, you have a Hall of Famer in Bruce Sutter who had one of the great splitters of all time. He parlayed it into a Hall of Fame career. But then you have certain pitches. You think about Sandy Koufax's curveball.
Flipped over short. Melky dunks in a base hit with 2 down.
Sandy Koufax's curveball. Guys said they actually could hear it. That's how tight the spin was, and that's how much the ball broke. So it's hard to think of individual pitchers and the pitch that they had, although Gaylord Perry, after his career, said that he used the spitter exclusively. It wasn't really a spitter per se. It was used with KY jelly, and it gives you a little bit of a slippery feeling on the
viscosity.
baseball. Yeah, it comes out like a splitter actually, but sinks at the end. And Gaylord threw it as well as anybody in the history of this game, and he parlayed that into a Hall of Fame career. So individual pitches, those are some of the best on the individual pitches. Fergie Jenkins was a 20-game winner 6 times with the Cubs. He had one of the great sliders of all time, and he could throw it exactly where he wanted to every time he threw it. Low and away to right-handers, low and into left-handers, and he was magnificent with his command of that particular pitch. So, you get your way into the Hall of Fame, and one pitch you throw better than others. You think about it, but just as a simple weapon that he uses all the time, because he throws. We're talking about Zach Britton, throws 92% fastballs, 92%,
and they sit at 96 or 97 miles an hour.
So, I mean, it's an overwhelming weapon.
2-0 on Frazier from Garton. 2 out in the 4th. And a half swing grounder foul.
One found its way into the dugout of the Rays. Rays are going to get a new stadium. It's going to take them a while, but they're figuring out just exactly which of the many locations that they will be offered, that they would like to build the ballpark.
Well, that city has had great success recently with the Lightning. They've gotten quite a following that's more than a cult following down there, and success certainly has been helpful. But it's a playable sports market.
It's going to be a lot more playable if they can harken back to the Joe Madden days when they had some pretty good baseball folks that put some very good teams together.
3-1. Frazier hits a towering pop-up. Miller drifting, and he's got it. That was an amusement park ride for Miller at shortstop. Cabrera stranded at first, still no score.
Corey Kluber. Removed from the game. They did an MRI. It is a mild quadriceps strain. 7 to 10 days, they say. And the record this year, certainly Cy Young consideration. The injury report is brought to you by Dr. Anthony Romeo Orthopedics. If you have any shoulder or elbow problems, go to RomeoOrthopedics.com or call 312-432-2342.
Still no score. Top of the 5th inning. Corey Dickerson will lead it off for Tampa on a foul ball from Miguel Gonzalez, who you wouldn't blame him if the situation with Jose Fernandez hit him a little bit harder than the average pitcher. Miguel Gonzalez, when he was coming up through baseball, became friends with and teammates for a couple years with Nick Edenhart. You remember the pitcher?
Yes, I do.
For the Angels, who was killed in a car crash back in 2009. And Miguel Gonzalez actually for a couple of seasons used a glove that Nick Edenhart gave him. He used to carry it around with him, and now says he doesn't have it along with him anymore. It's safe at home, but certainly a prized possession from a former teammate. It's unbelievable to think about. It was 7 years ago as Dickerson walks off the pane there, 1-2.
Yeah, it looks like he hurt himself, and now Kevin Cash is coming out. He took a swing, and who knows if it's a back problem or not. Maybe a wrist problem. Trainer's coming out to have a word with him. It's the left arm he's kind of shaking, so I think he's trying to shake out an elbow problem.
1-2 on Dickerson. To essentially third base, Todd Frazier playing shortstop, harkening back to his Little League days.
Always amazing to me when you put on that severe shift, when you have only one man covering all the space between second and third. And of all the places to hit it, you hit it to the one place that has a defender. In this case, Todd Frazier right there to make the play. That's a ringing endorsement for the shift. And the same shift is on for Franklin.
Frazier playing further in this time.
Well, you have to do it until there's one strike, because it's pretty easy to lay down a bunt as the knuckleballer, Eddie Gamboa, throwing in the pen. And that's one of the things I did mention when we were talking about single best pitches. Both, let's take Phil Niekro, the Hall of Famer, and Hoyt Wilhelm with knuckleballs, because you get a good knuckleballer and he can pitch number one forever. He can throw a couple times a week if you need him to. And whether it's out of the bullpen or starting rotation, if you can throw a knuckleball, or if you're sitting around and you're watching this game and you have a son, or maybe you don't have any real good pitches, if you master a knuckleball, you can actually pitch in the big leagues for a long time.
How about a nice spot there from Gonzalez to strike out Franklin. Third strikeout for Miguel, and 2 down in the 5th.
He just got outguessed. It was a fastball. He had part of the corner. Franklin thought it was outside. Ben May thought it was good enough. So looking at the stuff that Miguel had before the rain delay and the stuff he's had after, it's the same stuff. It's equally as good as when he started the game.
Broken bat, second base. Sanchez loops it to first. 1-2-3 inning for Gonzalez. That's the theme of the night for Miguel. Halfway home, no score.
Fifth Third Bank now get access to over 45,000 fee-free ATMs nationwide. And we got a new pitcher coming in the game. We were just talking about knuckleballs, and Eddie Gamboa has one of those. On for the 6th time. ERA of 1.08.
You talk about a career minor leaguer. Eddie Gamboa, taken by the Orioles in the 21st round in 2008. He bounced up and down and back and forth from Double-A to Triple-A and Double-A to Triple-A all the way through 2015. The Orioles released him after an ERA of 4.61. And with the Rays making his major league debut season, his 6th appearance starts with a fly ball from Avi Garcia. And there's out number 1.
Well, I would probably think, without knowing a whole lot of what happened in the early stages, that he started to throw a knuckleball a little bit later on, which eventually got him to the major leagues. And in talking with some of the folks around the Rays, they say that occasionally Eddie decides to harken back to yesteryear and throw fastballs. And it hasn't worked out very well for him, so they encourage him to continue to throw the knuckleball, which when over the plate is actually pretty effective.
Like that one, strike 1 to Carlos Sanchez.
We saw how effective Stephen Wright was for Boston this year. He will throw some other pitches, but the knuckleball, the primary pitch for Gamboa, doesn't have near the secondary stuff. So if he gets a knuckleball over, he can be pretty effective. And a knuckleball is actually a misnomer because it's thrown off the fingertips, the fingernails actually.
He loaded up to throw it to first.
Yeah, he was thinking about maybe a knuckleball over there, but
join us for Rock and Roll Night and Fireworks, presented by Guaranteed Rates, Saturday, October 1, as the White Sox host the Twins, 6:10 p.m. The start time. First 5,000 fans to enter U.S. Cellular Field will receive a Rock and Roll Night cap, compliments of Guaranteed Rate. For tickets, visit whitesox.com. Eddie Gamboa back on June the 30th of 2013 threw a 7-inning no-hitter against the Harrisburg Senators in Double-A in the Eastern League. And it's not as though there were no major leaguers in the lineup. Pop up first base side and out of play. That was the Nationals Double-A team. And hitting second was Steven Souza Jr., his current teammate. And 6th that day was the very fast improving catcher for the Red Sox, Sandy Leon.
Sandy Leon's done a really nice job this year.
With the luck they had with catcher injuries, to have him fill that gap has been a sign from above for the Red Sox.
That was a fastball, and he missed with it.
Two and 1 to Jason Coates. On the ground at third, Longoria. We promise you a run at some point tonight. We'll see when that happens. No score after 5. Hits on the board. Sox and Rays. Miguel Gonzalez is back out for his 6th inning. He's only given up the 1 hit. That was to this man, Richie Schaefer, the native of New Jersey, and then moved to North Carolina where he went to high school and then college at Clemson. The 1st-round pick of the Rays back in 2012. Gonzalez to Schaefer.
And that's what I'm talking about with Schaefer, because he opens the front foot and his hips open up. If you throw that ball where he threw it, you're not going to have much coverage on the outside part, but he's seen a lot of pitches on the inside part, and it's caused 3 doubles and a base hit in 5 at-bats in this series so far.
You could just miss spots.
No, I don't. I think that he wanted to throw a fastball inside when he doubled in the 3rd. But sometimes, look, if you're trying to throw the ball away and you miss, then eventually you're going to have to use a little bit more of the plate.
Two balls and a strike on Schaefer. Got under it. It's Avi Garcia's ball for out number 1.
Well, it's an adventure every time the ball goes up in the air, because the wind is blowing the ball well away from all these guys, whether it's the outfielders or the infielders, and Avi stays with it, drifts toward the line, and makes the catch.
A lot of deep stares into gloves post ball arrival tonight. One down for Maley, who bounced out in the 3rd in rather dramatic fashion.
He would be an ideal candidate for the Xfinity Speed.
Voting still open and now closed.
And on our Xfinity Speed replay, in the hole, Tim Anderson. And a good pick on the other end by Jose Abreu. What an outstanding play. This coming after the double. And then Miguel was able to get out of the inning, but not without some defensive heroics on the part of Tim Anderson. Speed Replay is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV.
Nice tagline. Fair ball, 3rd base side. Maley into the corner. Coates quickly gets to it, and Maley's safe with a 1-out double.
It was exactly the same type of base hit that Schaefer had in the 3rd inning, right down the line. So Maley now could easily be 2 for 2. He'll take the 1 double, and second man they've had in scoring position.
For Logan Forsythe, who's still hitless in the series, he's 0 for 11.
Hit the ball hard a couple times, but not finding anything to land safely. Hopefully that will continue.
Ball 1 to Forsythe. 76 total pitches for Gonzalez.
It's really a minimum as you are sitting here in the 6th inning. Hasn't walked anybody yet.
Location-wise, Gonzalez has been pinpoint tonight.
Yeah, you know, he's been pretty much like that all year long, but especially in this ballpark the last 5. He's got a pretty good idea what he wants to do with everything, and gets it there. And he's got a good change. And there it is. I mean, it's the same release point as the fastball. It's the same arm velocity as the fastball, but because he's able to jam it back in his hand, hitter can't read it, and then he usually gets out in front. There you look at some pretty impressive numbers. Couple of hits, no walks, 3 strikeouts in 5 1/3.
One and 2 on Forsythe. Short center field. Garcia veering for out number 2. Join us as the White Sox face the Tampa Bay Rays tomorrow at 7:10 p.m. First 10,000 fans to enter U.S. Cellular Field will receive a White Sox performance T-shirt. For tickets, visit whitesox.com/Thursdays. Those are nice shirts.
They're really nice shirts. What we haven't seen, which I'm sure that they will get to it, especially if the rain continues to stay away, is the Melky Western shirt.
Yeah, Cowboy Melky.
Cowboy Melky.
I'm picturing a cross between Melky and Jack Palance.
That would be a hard Melky.
Ball one to Kiermaier. Kevin Kiermaier 0 for 2 with a ground ball to first and a fly out to center. Maley at second, the catcher, with 2 down. That's a strike, 1-1.
Very good pitch. Trying to thread the needle on the inside part of the plate. That's how Miguel originally came up with his cutter, because he was having a hard time throwing fastballs into left-handers. But then he started cutting his fastball, and he was able to do it with a whole lot more efficiency.
Into center field, Garcia for the final out. 1 out double does no harm. We'll play bottom 6 in a scoreless draw.
With Robin by logging onto WGNTV.com and click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner for the latest stats and information. Sox Game Zone is powered by Dodd Camera, family owned for 125 years, handling all your photographic needs. Dodd Camera, where the focus is on you.
Still no score, and the young ones have stayed late. After a rain delay before the game and a rain delay of about an hour 15 in game. The clock has struck 10 a short while ago, and we are in the 6th inning with no runs on the board.
A lot of rain around the country. Indians, Tigers, Diamondbacks, Nationals.
Center field, Kiermaier stalls just before the warning track. Time for tonight's edition of Sticks and Stone. Question is, how'd you do against Lou Piniella?
I did very well against Lou.
Yeah?
Yes.
How well?
Well, let's see. Well enough that he was very bitter when he was a manager of the Cubs. And I thought it wouldn't have anything to do with me questioning his handling of Tyler Colvin, so it had to be our head-to-head matchup.
Here's a ground ball to shortstop. Baseball provides lovely segues, doesn't it? 2 down as Anderson rolls out.
Actually, Lou was a really good hitter, and one of the tougher guys to get out in key situations. Didn't matter where he was playing. He came up with the Cleveland Indians and really made a name for himself with the New York Yankees. But being a right-hand hitter and all, I do remember him yelling at me from the batter's box in Baltimore because I threw him a cornucopia of very slow curveballs, and he actually fouled one over the roof, like over the third base dugout, because he was so far out in front of it, and he was screaming at me to throw him a fastball. And of course, that would defeat the purpose because I knew it aggravated him to throw him slow curveballs. So I continued to do that. I'm thinking something along the lines of 3 for 14 or something like that.
Why would I've never understood that? Why would you, as the pitcher, throw to the hitter what he wanted to see?
Well, they like to yell at you, challenge me. I don't think so. The object, this is not called challenge ball. It's trying to get you out.
Well, it is a challenge. He can't hit the curveball. Garcia goes down swinging. Different definitions of challenge. Second definition. No score after the 6th. Evan Longoria can't wait for the 7th inning to start. He pops up to Carlos Sanchez. 1 away. Here's the answer to how you did against Lou Piniella, Steve Stone.
Let's see. Oh, 3 for 11, 273. But he didn't hit a home run. Strikeouts.
Lou didn't even look happy to be in that picture.
No, he was not. He was not a happy man, although he is a happy man. He had a good career as a manager. He went wire to wire with the 1990 Cincinnati Reds and then won 116 games with Seattle.
Brad Miller double parked. Sanchez for out number 2. The Xfinity fundamentals above left field at U.S. Cellular Field is accessible from the 100, 300, and 500 levels. Learn baseball from White Sox Training Academy coaches in the batting and pitching cages and base running areas. Check out the latest Xfinity technology, including the X1 platform, X1 by Xfinity. It'll change the way you experience TV.
In a pretty big game for Detroit, a game that ended after 5 innings. Detroit beat the Indians 6-3. Huge game for them to keep them relevant. They were kind of hoping that Baltimore would be defeated by Toronto. Didn't work out that way, but Detroit's still in it.
Tigers with that win, a game back of Baltimore. And this for Miguel Gonzalez is going to be a 4-pitch 7th inning. Good for the longevity. Stretch time. Sox, Rays, scoreless.
Scoreboard and the schedule around the major leagues, and a lot of rain entering into it.
They're bobbing for apples.
It's really a great thing to do.
Across Major League Baseball, we're bobbing for playoff berths.
They should have passed up some of those coats up here.
We have windows. We're fine. The Cardinals loss there is damaging.
Yes.
2-1 to Cincinnati.
And you know what? Cincinnati has played the Cardinals pretty tough. And especially with the Mets beating Miami 5-2. Now we have to see what the Giants are going to do. They're currently trailing 1-0 to Colorado, but they're in San Francisco.
Giants came in today a game ahead of the Cardinals for that second wild card spot. The Mets are putting some distance now between themselves and the pack, as Eddie Gamboa, the knuckleballer, comes out for his 3rd inning.
One of the great advantages of having knuckleballers when he's getting the ball over the plate is they can literally pitch as many innings as you need them to pitch.
There's strike 3 and 1 away. Eddie Gamboa doesn't do it exactly like the litany of knuckleballers who passed that number 49 jersey from one another to one another. And Gamboa is wearing 59. The one down for Melky.
Knuckleballer and probably a curveballer are the only two pitchers that ever want the wind blowing out. Normally you want the wind blowing in to make sure that you give up a fly ball, it stays in the park. But the guy with a knuckleball or a good curveball, they want the wind in their face because the wind will then grab the seams and make it move even more.
So you're saying there's more value in what it does to the ball than what it does to the ball after it's hit.
Yeah, because with the wind blowing in your face, I remember some days where throwing a curveball was really easy to do. And for a knuckleballer, I mean, the ball is going to move twice as much as it normally does if the wind is in your face.
1-2. Second base, Forsythe. Two down for Frazier. You know, we've had a lot of discussion about how important wins are in Major League Baseball and what you're going to get paid if you have a certain amount of wins, et cetera, et cetera. This day in 1897, Dave Wright of the Chicago Colts gave up 14 runs on 17 hits, but still won his first and only Major League game because The Colts had an 11-run fifth inning to beat the Pirates 15-14. What a great pitcher. He's 1-0.
It certainly helps to know when to pitch. When your team is going to score 15, normally you're in good shape. If you're not, you have a problem.
Good timing.
Very good in his case.
1-1 to Frazier. Tomahawk foul. But again, that was that era, and then future eras prior to our current era. You'd have starting pitcher versus starting pitcher, and that would basically be it. The bullpen's there in case. Nowadays, you're having bullpens starting in the game much earlier, so it kind of dilutes the win. Frazier to left field, and number 40.
Number 40 and number 98. And that was a blast. He got a rolling knuckleball. He got one that didn't float. And he took it way back. And a big hand from the crowd. Our fourth drive of the game, and as you can see, that one doesn't do much. It's brought to you by Ford. You can visit your local Ford store or buyfordnow.com. Todd Frazier got every bit of that and then some.
And with that home run, another generous donation from the Alex Snellius family in loving memory of Ursula. Building on a career high, Todd Frazier, 40 home runs.
That's a pretty good year. 40 home runs. He's going to drive in 100, you would certainly assume, just 2 away. And it's a 1-0 ball game.
If Frazier were to get those 2 RBIs, he would be the 6th White Sox player to have a 40 home run, 100 RBI season. The others being Frank Thomas, Paul Konerko, Albert Bell, Jermaine Dye, Jim Thome. Good company.
Not an easy thing to do.
Three and one. Avi takes ball 4. Second walk tonight for Avi Garcia.
That'll send Maley out to have a word with him. That's the one thing the knuckleballer cannot guard against, and that is when the ball doesn't flutter. When it just rolls, it's like a hanging curveball, a hanging slider, a hanging any other pitch you've got. That young fan absolutely ecstatic with the hope that this does not go into extra innings.
Starting his own chant of "Let's Go White Sox." Sanchez takes strike.
There is nobody up in the Tampa pen. Eddie's out there.
Foul to first. Avi at first, 2 out, 1 in.
That's one of the things that knuckleballers have to have, and that is a good move to first, because it's the easiest pitch to run on. Especially when you get a guy that throws 90% knuckleballs. It's tough for the catcher to catch, and then harder for him to control once he does catch it.
Left field, Dickerson on the run. It is foul.
Didn't miss by much, but slicing at the end, and unfortunately on the left side of the line. Like Estabrook on the call, Dickerson's not going to get to it. And you see, foul by 3 or 4 inches. And with the lead, and with a whole lot of delays and a lot of pitches, Nate Jones getting ready in the pen.
0-2. Sanchez floats it to center, and that's in. Avi halts at second. 2 on for the Sox and Jason Coates. Carlos Sanchez has played very well over the last 2 weeks.
Well, he's gotten his opportunity. Tyler Saladino had a leg problem. We know about Brett Lawrie having a few lower body issues. And Carlos, with a chance to play just about every day, is making the most of it. And there's going to be a few people that are in line to get that swingman job next year. And Carlos serving notice that he wants to be one of those guys, and I think he's done enough to be one of those guys.
Second base and Forsythe. The inning's over on the ground ball, but Todd Frazier has a career high 40 home runs. This one against Gamboa, and the Sox have the first lead tonight.
Miguel Gonzalez still in the game. 7 shutout innings with only 2 hits. And Todd Frazier, first player in White Sox history with 40 home runs and 15 stolen bases in a single season. Great deals are waiting for you now at your Honda dealer.
Gonzalez with strike 1 to Nick Franklin. And Miguel Gonzalez with that fly ball out has his longest start of the season for the Sox.
Giving up 2 doubles, that's the only thing that has stopped him from perfection. 1 to Schaefer, 1 to Maley. He's thrown a lot of fly balls and pop-ups tonight. Very few ground balls, but they haven't hit the ball very hard.
5 ground ball outs, 3 strikeouts. 7 1/3 for Gonzalez. And the Rays, by the way, if you're talking about the way that they would have cooked their offense, certainly not crock pot, certainly not oven. It is a microwave tonight. Very early swings.
Yes, they're doing a whole lot of that. 4-pitch inning, usually something you're not going to see too often in a pennant race. This is not one of those. So the Rays are going up there aggressively. if not all that successful.
2 strikes on Mikey Matuk. Down he goes. 3 pitches for Gonzalez to his 4th strikeout. This month, MLB and the Chicago White Sox are celebrating the many ways Latinos put an accent on baseball. Share how you put an accent on the game with hashtag Ponle Acento. Miguel Gonzalez, born in Mexico, threw 7 2/3 tonight. Richie Schaefer has one of the 2 hits for the Rays, and he's got strike 1. There's a change, 0-2.
That's a really good straight change. It's Schaefer swinging at the motion as opposed to the baseball. No chance at all that time. Perfect spot. Good release.
In the air again on 2 strikes. Sanchez. That's a 1-2-3 inning for Miguel Gonzalez. He has wiped out the Rays tonight. 1-0 Sox.
Player of the game is Miguel Gonzalez, who's been absolutely brilliant through 8 innings, a couple of hits, no runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts. And you can wrap your hands around the official Italian beef of the Chicago White Sox at one of the 19 Bona locations.
Brilliant night for Miguel Gonzalez, pitching through the rain and a rain delay of 1:16.
Actually, 2 of them. One when the game started, and then a longer one, more difficult, as Danny Farquhar comes in the game on for the 33rd time. 1-0, 3.27 ERA.
Danny Farquhar is a raging Cajun. He went to the University of Louisiana Lafayette.
Remembering him with some of his other stops, he had a lot of injuries early in his career, but he's battled his way through.
Didn't pitch at all in 2012 due to injury, then picked it back up with the Mariners, 46 games in 2013, and pitched pretty well, just 44 hits and 55 2/3. That's one of those years. He's got an ERA of 4.20 in 2013, but he's got a fielding independent pitching FIP of 186, which suggests terrible luck. And there is strike number 3 on Kevin Smith. 1 away. Most popular way to follow White Sox baseball is with MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Enjoy live look-ins, highlights, game day, scores, StatCast, live radio broadcasts, and more. Get MLB.com at bat on your favorite devices now. It'll even show up on your least favorite devices. Ball 1 to Tim Anderson, who made a dazzling play in the field earlier on and is 0 for 3 at the plate. Not anymore. Anderson to left center, rolling all the way to the wall. Tim spies it and stops at second. It's a 1-out double.
He probably made what could turn out to be a game saver. He doesn't make that play. It's going to be a much tougher inning. That would have been in the 3rd inning with Schaefer at second. Our Mazda replay, a bullet of a double off the bat of Tim Anderson. We've been remarking since he came up from the minor leagues how much velocity, it's called exit velocity, how much he has. And that you can't teach. It's either a lively bat or it's not. And he's going to hit a lot of home runs as he gets to know what pitchers are starting to do with him.
Well, his home run percentage in the majors, home runs per at bat, things like that, better here than it was in AAA Charlotte.
Well, look, he's getting stronger. He's starting to understand a little bit more what pitchers are doing with him. I mean, I'm not going to tell you he's going to be a 30 to 40 home run man, but he's going to hit 20, 25 home runs, I think. If not next year, certainly the year after that, because he's going to get smarter. He's very strong now. And to go with a whole lot of speed, he's going to be a good player.
1-1. Called a strike. 1-2 on Garcia, who's nothing for 3.
David Robertson loosening in the pen. As the Sox looking for at least 1 run of insurance.
Farquhar, a look at Anderson. Sox, if the score held, which that's in question, especially here in the bottom of the 8th with a runner in scoring position, would have shut out the Rays 1-0 twice this year. Chris Sale did it back on April 15th.
Well, that game was just a remarkable pitching performance as he went the distance. Obviously, you win a 1-0 game, but pretty unhittable, but he was especially unhittable that day.
2-2. Oh boy, Garcia gets clobbered.
He got hit between the 2 and the 8, it looked like.
Looks like it hurts more in the 2 than the 8 right now.
Absolutely no way to get out of the way of this, because your natural tendency is to move backward and the ball is thrown behind you. That one was going to get him. It was just a question of where.
You see that split-second reaction by a batter bracing for a ball that very clearly is coming his way.
There's some pitches, a lot of pitches where you have a chance. There's other pitches where you know it's going to get you, and you'll see the facial expression actually before you get hit.
Two on, 1 out. Abreu against Farquhar. 4th pitcher used tonight. Kevin Cash and the Rays. Right side, Mikey Matuk sliding to make the play. Throw to third is not in time, and a heads-up play by Tim Anderson reaching third base.
That was a terrific play by Matuk, going over into foul territory. And once this goes into foul territory, there's no reason not to tag up. Just a big effort, sliding grab, and Tim Anderson with very much of a heads-up base running play. Now, wild pitch, pass ball, he scores. Matuk did a tremendous job of getting up quickly and getting the ball in, but no chance to get the very speedy Anderson.
With Todd Frazier on deck, Melky has 2 on and 2 out. Strike one. Frazier, the home run to give the Sox the lead and push his hit streak to 12. That came in the 7th inning. This the 8th with 2 out. Bat everywhere. Inning over. Sox lead by a run and need 3 outs in the 9th. Here comes Gonzalez. For the Sox as Miguel Gonzalez is back out trying to finish off a shutout tonight. He'll face Maley first, who stabs a bunt foul. Gonzalez in search of his 2nd career complete game shutout. His only other major league complete game was a shutout. That was against Cincinnati back on September 3rd 2 years ago, and Todd Frazier may remember the game. He was 0 for 4 for Cincinnati, batting 2nd that day. Tapped foul, 0-2. 96 pitches for Gonzalez that day at Camden Yards. He threw 117 times. It was a 4-hit complete game shutout, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. That's strike 3, 1 down.
It's pretty amazing the run that he's had. The last right-hand hitter that he's walked was back on June 25th. Good cutter. Perfect pitch at 0-2. And quickly there's an out.
Logan Forsythe, the batter. Certainly needing 2 outs, you'd like to get him in a hurry, especially with Longoria being the guy that would come up if anyone reached, as that's fouled away by Forsythe.
They're in the just about swing at everything mode at this point.
Kiermaier on deck. He is 0 for 3. The only hits have come from 8 and 9 in the order. Just missed. Ball and a strike. He lays it in. 1-2 from Gonzalez to Forsythe.
15 outs tonight in the air.
One and two. Outside, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Tried to wipe him out with a straight change, and that one just missed off the outside corner as he's moved to 102 pitches coming up with this one.
On 2-2. Wrapped through, base hit. Now does Gonzalez get to face Kiermaier? Looks like no.
Nope. He's not going to let him complete it, and maybe the last pitch was a tip-off. It was right up in the eyes of Forsythe, who drilled it through the left side. So, from the fans that do remain, they're going to give Miguel a big hand. This was a magnificent performance tonight as David Robertson comes trotting in. And the last pitch of this season has just been thrown by Miguel Gonzalez, and it was a wonderful way to end it for him.
Mastery tonight from Miguel Gonzalez, 8 1/3. The win and the balance. Tampa's got a runner on with 1 out. Kiermaier coming up, and Robertson trying to cinch it for the Sox. David Robertson quickly into the game. Tim Anderson quickly turns 2, and we'll see you soon.
Can't have a much more successful save than that. 2 outs with 1 pitch. Miguel Gonzalez gets a win. David Robertson was save number 37. So the Sox win 1-0. On the first pitch, Kiermaier hits it right at Tim Anderson. Tough to outrun that arm, and that's it. Great way to end it. Wonderful win for Miguel Gonzalez, and David Robertson, a very happy man.
1 pitch, 2 outs, 1 save. And Gonzalez grabs the win after a brilliant 8 1/3, 3 hits, 5 strikeouts. Sox win it. And for the Sox, that's 5 wins in a row. 3 this homestand, 2 to finish the Cleveland series. 77-81 the record. Rays 65-93. We'll step aside, wrap it after this.